Victims of sleep paralysis, what was your run-in with the sleep paralysis demon like? To those of you who don't know, Google search sleep paralysis demon. People who have had problems with sleep paralysis have been known to experience evil presences described as sleep paralysis demons. I've only experienced it 3 times, but my first time was the worst. I've never had any visual encounters, but when it happened the first time I was laying on my left side and started to feel that pressure on my chest. When I realized I was paralyzed and started panicking, something whispered in my ear, "Just coming in to say good night." That's when I felt like something was pushing me towards the edge of my bed. Terrifying shot. I've had 3 sleep paralysis events in my life. I saw a cat-sized shadow creature at the base of my bed, and it slowly crawled up onto my sheets and finally up to my chest. I felt uncomfortable. Another time I saw a shadow man walking around my room, disappearing behind my open door. This was the scariest one I've had so far. This one was the best. I saw a couple of surreal-looking penguins walking around my bedroom. It was amusing and funny. I actually have it fairly often, so much now that I realize when it's occurring. These days I just close my eyes and won't open them no matter what I feel or hear. Doing this though doesn't force me to wake up, and I still have to wait for it to end. I still feel and hear everything. Sometimes I feel like I'm being dragged somewhere, or just constantly feel like something is touching me along with muffled voices. Before I learned to cope with it, I've seen quite a few awful things. Horror films don't really do anything for me anymore because I've already seen the most terrifying things I already could. Here's a few things I remember off the top of my head. A little girl in the corner of my room staring at me. Then, without notice, she shrieks and runs up and starts choking me. A large dark figure, kind of a human silhouette, emerging from the foot of my bed and staring down at me. Something banging and scraping on my bedroom door. I keep it locked at night because I have had ones where it opens by itself. Edit, no, the door isn't open when I wake up. It only opens in a dream. My bedroom door opening by itself, followed by dark figures coming into my room. The earliest one I can remember is with my mother in the room, and she's sitting on my bed, her face morphs into a demon-like thing. Many others. The worst thing is when you try to fight or call for help. Your voice doesn't work and your body will not respond. You just feel helpless. Ugh, I need to stop trying to remember these things. I'm getting chills. I've had cycles of sleep paralysis for as long as I can remember and regularly see 2 different demons. The hallucinations are visual, auditory, and you can physically feel them at times. They have become more vivid as I've gotten older. One is a tall dark hooded figure that always stood at the bottom of my bed. My scariest experience with him was when I woke up one night with sleep paralysis and the big spooky hooded bastard was standing right next to me. His hood was covering his face, but I knew he was watching me and I knew he was evil. The second one I see is a smallish gremlin-type creature that's got pointy features and is a browny-green color, very similar to the one in the painting, but I had seen him before I had seen the painting or even knew what sleep paralysis was. He normally appears when I'm on my back and restricts my breathing and speaks in a weird whispery language. I woke up once and he was crouching in the corner of the ceiling. When I looked at him, he turned his head and looked right at me and smiled. I woke up on my side once and I could hear him behind me, speaking in his freaky language, and then I felt his snake-like tongue going in my ear and making a slithery noise. I can't tell how glad I am when I found out that there was a scientific explanation for it and that I wasn't actually being haunted. I can't explain how so many people with sleep paralysis see similar demons and how we all just know that the things we are seeing are evil, but it's something I choose not to think about too much for the sake of ever being able to sleep again. Ugh. I've gotten mine so frequently that I don't even freak out about it anymore. It's still scary, but not nearly as much as it used to be. The first few hallucinations were awful. A little creature eating something on my floor. I blink. Now he's right next to my face chewing on something and whispers, "Remember me?" An old lady standing over my head and whispers darling. I told my mom about that one and she asked if I thought it was my late grandma. No. It was evil. The hallucinations are always evil. Even if I can't see anything, there is an overwhelming presence in the room and it is always evil. I can't move. I'm stuck. The evil is pulling on me deeper and deeper. I can't cry for help. I can only breathe heavily as fast as I can, hoping someone will hear me breathing so loud and will come shake me out of it. I try and move a finger. Come on finger. Why won't you just move? It's going to get me. Mine are a lot more evil than that and usually not on my body. My last experience was a demon in the corner of my room, behind me where I couldn't see, speaking some sort of gibberish. Other times it's things walking toward me totally Jacob's ladder style, as in they move toward almost hyper speed but very slower and their legs don't match their movements. A lot of the time if it isn't a demon, it's someone I know, but they're possessed. Often laughing at me. I have a few different sleep paralysis demons and one sort of sleep paralysis guardian angel. The demon ones are the usual shadowy figure standing over me or by my bedroom door. The worst one was while I was lying on my side with my back to the door and it felt like someone got into bed behind me, under the covers, and put their arm round my waist. Then it felt like they were cuddling into me and I could feel breath on my neck. It felt like they cuddled me for about half an hour. All this time I'm trying not to show that I'm panicking because it feels like I'm getting cuddled by a skeleton with claws. It was only about the second, maybe third time I'd had sleep paralysis, so I nearly had a heart attack when this thing feels like it's moving in closer to kiss me behind the ear. Worst of all, it whispered, "Not yet. You're not ready yet. I'll come back when you are." To me it sounded disappointed and excited. It felt like it was silently telling me it meant that it was coming back when I was about to die. Scared the ducking shit out of me. My sleep paralysis guardian angel was a weird experience. I'd been getting sleep paralysis on and off for about 18 months by this point, so I could usually tell straight away when it was happening. At first I thought it was the usual demon things beside my bed, but when I looked properly I realized I could clearly see a man kneeling next to my bed smiling at me. It wasn't a creepy smile. More like a parent coming in to check on their kid. He looked like he was dressed in a 50s style suit and hat. He didn't say anything, although I got the sense he was letting me know everything was alright and he'd look after me. It has only happened once to me and it scared the shit out of me. I was taking a quick nap while my 2-year-old was napping. I woke up to hearing someone open my front door and walk in. Their steps came to my door and I saw it open out of the corner of my eye. The whole time I could not move or blink. It stood there for a bit and then closed the door and went to my son's room. That's when I really panicked and it was done. I could get up and my heart was racing. Threw me for a ducking loop. First time, watched a figure darker than the pitch black room walk from the hallway into my room. Then it bent over at the waist and, seemingly, stared at me, about 6 inches from my face. Then it tried to rip my heart out of my chest by chowing down on my ribcage. Trying to scream was useless for what seemed like eternity, completely frozen. Finally screamed, guess I was coming around, and it exploded into a cloud and dissolved. Second time, was playing in a metal band and crashed at our bass player zapped. Had all sorts of pentagram and various hell-loving metal posters all over the walls in the living room. I was on the couch and watched the same dark figure I'd seen years before walk into the room and sit in a chair across from me. Stared again and pointed at me, until I could finally scream. This time it just dissolved though, no explosion-ish thing. It's probably happened 3 or 4 other times. The horrible part is, I didn't know what the dark man or sleep paralysis demon was until about a year ago. Just spent the last 20 years or so believing a demon was following me and liked to ruin my month from time to time. Judge if you want, but until you see that shit, and feel how real it is, you won't get it. The complete relief I felt when I finally learned it was sleep paralysis was amazing. I remember 2 incidents vaguely. Woke up, couldn't move, per usual, but felt like I was floating. I started to ascend but then immediately felt like I was falling, fast. I looked around and everything was dark except one spot. I stared at the spot, not blinking, as the face of a demon got more and more complete. I finally closed my eyes and prayed to God to not let me go to hell and that I was so sorry for whatever I had done. Then I woke up and my whole body was pulsating/vibrating like when your hand is asleep and the blood is coming back. Fucking terrifying. I woke up and stared at the ceiling. There was an increasingly loud, low-pitched vibrating noise that sounded like the world was ending. As I stared, I saw a very complex glowing green circular design, think crop circle, appear and become more clear as I didn't blink. I finally got too scared and shut my eyes. When I opened my eyes again, it was gone. Here is the freakiest part though, for the next minute, every time I blinked I would see the circular design again, as you might see the shape of a light bulb after staring at it for a few seconds. I really thought I'd been abducted by aliens. Sleep paralysis is no fun, guys.